is basically an attempt to shove money from the young to the old. And two, 45 to 64-year-old women who I would affectionately describe as their mother. And that is when your son's in the basement vaping and playing video games, and I think a lot about struggling young men, you don't give a flying fuck about territorial sovereignty in the Ukraine, excuse me, or transgender rights. All you know is your kid isn't doing well. And 210 times a day, your kid's getting a notification that somebody he knows is on a Gulf Stream or partying in St. Bart's, and it's not him or her. And so we not only have young people not doing as well, this pornographic wealth is just shoved in their face. And you end up with, in my opinion, kind of a young, struggling young man. No group has fallen further faster in the world, I would argue, than young men in America. They are, if you go into a morgue in the United States and there's 5 people who've died by suicide, 4 of them are men. 1 in 3 men under the age of 30 has a girlfriend. 2 in 3 women under the age of 30 has a boyfriend. Why? You think that's mathematically impossible? Because women are dating older because they want more economically and emotionally viable men. There's 1 in 5 men live at home at the age of 30, 1 in 3 under the age of 25. They're not having sex. They're more obese. They're more depressed. When women don't have a relationship, they oftentimes channel that energy into their professional lives. More single women own homes in the US than single men. Women in urban areas under the age of 30 are making more money than men. When men don't have the guardrails of a relationship or a job or being in school, they pour that energy sometimes into unproductive things, misogyny, nationalism or extreme nationalism, conspiracy theory. In some, they become really shitty citizens. They become sequestered from society. So I'm worried in the US, our biggest threat is a new species of asexual, asocial young men who are incredibly dangerous, have opted out of America. 60% of 30-year-olds used to have 1 child in America. Now it's 27%. So people, I think in the US, and I am just a genuine question, I don't know if it's the same problem here, our tax policies have taken money from the young, stuffed them in the pockets of old people, so Nana and Pop-Pop can upgrade from Carnival to Crystal Cruises. Meanwhile, young people can't afford education, they can't afford housing. And we especially see this really acute emerging crisis among young men who are just opting out of America, who don't even want to try and date, don't even want to enroll in school, don't want to even try and get a job, just stick in their basements and go on Reddit or Discord, or why go try and shower or work out and get a relationship when you have YouPorn? Why get a job when you can trade stocks or crypto on Coinbase or Robinhood? I think this is, in my opinion, this is the most dangerous trend in America right now.
It was almost like demonizing men for decades has consequences. I mean, this is what's been happening. Men are the root of all evil, the root of all evil, the root of all evil. Every advert is about, you know, the woman is strong and capable, the guy's pathetic. In every movie, the woman's kicking ass and the man is pathetic. This has been going on for decades. It's a cultural thing as well as an economic thing. And many of us have been saying that when you take meaning and opportunity away from men, if you create an education system that punishes boys for being boys, if you create a society in which traditional masculine virtues become vices, then you will create exactly the sort of thing that Scott is talking about. It's a terrible thing that's been done. Having said that, my message is always the same to young men who I hope are listening, which is the answer to your problems is never going to be, as Scott says, porn and this and that. The answer to your problems is going to take responsibility, go out and get a job or create a business and actually make your life better. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to help you. There is no, the sort of programs that we have for women where we sort of go, well, you know, let's give them an opportunity here. None of that's happening for men. It's not going to happen because for evolutionary reasons, we just don't feel sorry for men the way that we do for women. That's a reality. I know it sucks. But the answer for men is going to be the answer that's always been the answer for men, which is for you to get off the sofa, to get off the couch and go out and actually do and create and build and find your own way through it, even if you have to acknowledge that the society you live in has been conditioned for quite a long time to think that you're a piece of shit because you happen to have the genitalia that you do. Now, that I think is the harsh reality of it. And I think Scott is right to point this out as a problem. And I hope that we start to have both in terms of economic policy, but in terms of also just the cultural conversations and the way we talk about these issues. We come back to something that human beings have known through the entire history of our species, which is men and women are both good and need to work together in order to thrive and succeed together, in order to have families, in order to have children, and in order for us to have healthy communities and healthy societies. You need healthy femininity and you need healthy masculinity, and they need to come together and work together. That's what we're supposed to do. And these stupid gender wars and this idea that men as a group are this and women as a group are that, all of that just needs to end.
I was watching last night as Trump sat there signing all of those executive orders. And I also watched his inauguration speak where he said, we will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. And he signed a bunch of executive orders last night to eliminate a variety of different DEI programs in the federal government, directing agencies to dismantle these practices within 60 days. And then over the last couple of months, we've seen Meta come out and dismantle and reverse some of their DEI programs. We've seen McDonald's, Walmart, Ford, Harley Davidson, Boeing, Amazon, Toyota. It feels like there's a real shift happening in both how, identity politics, but also in the sort of corporate environment that those identity politics have really emerged from. Are you supportive of Trump's move to roll back DEI measures?
So I think there's a lot of nuance here. I would argue in universities, DEI is used as a giant misdirect from people such as myself who are enforcers of the caste system and wake up every morning and look in the mirror and ask ourselves the same question: how do I increase my compensation while decreasing my accountability? And what I found is the ultimate strategy is to create an LVMH rejectionist bullshit elitist strategy where Dartmouth sits on a endowment of $8 billion and lets in 500 kids. So the conversation around who gets in is a misdirect from the important question, that is how many. If you are not growing your endowment or your freshman class faster than population, you should lose your tax-free status. We should be letting in more gay kids, more trans kids, more white Republicans from rural states. You know who doesn't talk about DEI? Junior colleges, because there's no admissions. They don't have a problem with DEI. So I think DEI on campus has ended up eating its own tail, started out with the right idea. Now it's nothing. And I would argue the same is somewhat true of the Democratic Party. I went to the Democratic National Convention. On the dnc.org website, it lists 17 special interest groups, and it says explicitly who we serve: Asian Pacific Islanders, seniors, veterans, Black Americans, the disabled. It basically lists, I added this up, 76% of the population. And when you say you're actively advocating for 76% of the population, you're not advocating for 76% of the population. You're discriminating against the 24%. It's gone too far. I would argue in the workplace, having served on 7 public company boards, and I'm going to do a lot of boasting here because I'm desperate for all of your affirmation, and 12 private company boards, there's still work to be done in the private sector. There still is a cycle